Low-carb diets are extremely effective for reversing insulin resistance, but if you do want to include some in your diet, certain ones are better than others. And there are also things you can do to make them more insulin resistant friendly. The key is to be smart about them. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about the best 4 carbs for insulin resistance. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Kate. I'm a certified health and nutrition coach. I post videos twice a week here on YouTube talking all things insulin resistance, weight loss, sleep, and more. So if you're ready to take control of your metabolic health, make sure to click that subscribe button. And you can also find me on TikTok and Instagram where I share new posts every single day. The key to reversing insulin resistance is to keep your circulating insulin low whenever you can. And this is because insulin resistance is caused by high insulin overwhelming our cells. When this happens, our cells become less responsive to the actions of insulin. Now, carbohydrates are the macronutrient that requires the most insulin to process. Fat and protein require very little, if any at all. And this is why eating a low-carb or ketogenic diet is so effective at improving insulin sensitivity and reversing insulin resistance. Eating this way allows your insulin levels to stay low, and your cells start to become more sensitive to insulin once again. So low-carb diets are my #1 recommendation for anyone who's trying to reverse insulin resistance, but I'm also a big advocate for striving for progress and not perfection. You don't have to eat a strict low-carb or keto diet 100% of the time if you're wanting to reverse insulin resistance. Focus on making the best choices you can as often as you can. And when you do add a few more carbs, be smart about them. Because ultimately the goal should be metabolic flexibility. We should be able to switch between using carbs and fat for energy seamlessly. I love using my Lumen metabolism tracker to measure my metabolic flexibility. I take measurements first thing in the morning and also before and after I eat and exercise to see how my metabolism responds to different foods and activities. Because carbs are not the enemy. Yes, limiting them can be beneficial, especially if we're not efficient at burning fat and using it for energy. But ideally, once we build up and have good metabolic flexibility, we should be able to switch back into fat burning mode relatively quickly after eating carbohydrates. After you use Lumen for a few weeks, it gives you a Lumen Flex score, which is a measure of how metabolically flexible you are, so you can get a sense of where you're at and work to improve. But anyways, enough chit chat, let's get into the video. And make sure to stick around until the end because I have a bonus tip for you that you're not gonna wanna miss. #1, leftover potatoes. When we cook and cool starch-rich foods such as potatoes, some of that starch turns into resistant starch. And resistant starch, it's like fiber in the sense that it goes through our system undigested. So basically, by eating leftover potatoes as opposed to freshly cooked ones, the carb content is actually going to be lower. And as a result, there's going to be a less significant spike in your blood sugar and less insulin is going to be needed. One study done on obese men who ate 15 to 30 grams of resistant starch in replacement of starch saw significant improvements to their insulin resistance after 4 weeks. Now, I don't think you need to go out of your way to add resistant starch into your diet, but eating it as a replacement to regular starch, that can be beneficial. And this is really as simple as cooking your potatoes the day before, leaving them in the fridge overnight. And yes, you can reheat them before you eat them. Didn't mean for that to rhyme. The resistant starch will still remain. Now, I know some people are a bit skeptical about resistant starch, and to that I will say, test it for yourself. You can use Lumen to measure before and after resistant starch and non-resistant starch and see the impact that it has on your metabolism. How long does it take for your body to get back into fat burning mode after you eat each of them? And there is also a lot of clinical evidence supporting resistant starch and how it lowers the blood sugar and insulin response to the food. But like I said, if you're skeptical, try it for yourself. #2, whole fruit. Now, when I say whole fruit, I mean as an alternative to fruit juice and fruit smoothies. It is always a better idea to eat your fruit whole. And this is for a couple different reasons. Fruit is mainly made up of carbohydrates, and it does contain a decent amount of sugar depending on the fruit that you're eating. When we eat the fruit whole, we're consuming it with fiber, which slows down how quickly the sugar enters our bloodstream. When we drink fruit juice and fruit smoothies, the fiber has been removed or destroyed, so the sugar enters our bloodstream quickly, spiking our blood sugar and spiking our insulin. There's also the fact that when you drink the fruit from juice, you're consuming a lot more. For example, there is about 3 oranges in 1 cup of orange juice. Most people aren't going around eating 3 whole oranges at a time, but it's very easy to drink just 1 cup of orange juice. So you're essentially getting 3 times the sugar, and the same goes for smoothies. You can cram a whole lot of fruit into a smoothie, a lot more than you could probably eat in a sitting. Number 3, overnight oats. Now, oatmeal and oats are something I get asked about all the time. In general, they're not great for insulin resistance because they are mainly carbohydrates and contain very little protein and fat. On their own, they can cause a big spike in blood sugar and they require a lot of insulin to process. And this effect is magnified when you add things such as honey, fruit, and milk. And it's even worse when you eat oats first thing in the morning because carbs are absorbed more rapidly on an empty stomach. But there are ways to make them more insulin friendly if you do want to include them in your diet. One of which is making overnight oats. And this comes back to resistant starch, which we spoke about earlier. Cooking and cooling your oats and leaving them in the fridge overnight will mean that when you eat them, the blood sugar and insulin response is going to be less extreme. And another hack for oatmeal, if you will, is to add protein and fat to it. So add a couple eggs, add some protein powder, add some nut butter, anything like that. Because when we pair carbohydrates with protein and fat, the blood sugar and insulin response is a lot lower. Number 4, dessert. Now this one might catch some of you guys off guard. But if you are going to have something sweet, it's better to have it after a meal versus as a standalone snack. And this comes back to consuming carbohydrates and sugar on an empty stomach, which we spoke about earlier. Now, I'm not advocating for adding dessert into your diet if it wasn't something you were already going to consume, but having it after a meal that has protein, fat, and fiber, this is going to help to slow down the blood sugar response. When it comes to carbohydrates, it's important to remember the 3 T's: timing, type, and tracking. In regards to timing, when we eat carbs around exercise, our body is able to use them to fuel our workout. In regards to type, not all carbs are the same, as we have discussed in this video. Another example is that complex carbs are absorbed more slowly than simple carbs are. And when it comes to tracking, you can track your carbs through the Lumen app and keep track of the impact they have on your metabolism. Okay guys, I promised I had a bonus tip for you. This bonus tip is not going to come as a surprise for those of you who have been subscribed to my channel for a while. I talk about this all the time, but having 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar diluted in water before carbohydrates helps our cells to become more insulin sensitive. The vinegar allows our cells to take in glucose more easily, resulting in a less significant blood sugar spike and less insulin being needed. And this is a great hack for if you're eating out and you're unsure what's going to be on the menu, you're unsure about the ingredients that are in everything, the carb content, the sugar content. Have some apple cider vinegar before you leave your house within an hour of eating your meal, and this can make a big difference. Anyways guys, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to check out Lumen. I'm going to put the link in the description box down below, along with a promo code to save $50 off your order. Let me know in the comment section down below if you found this video helpful. I love chatting with you guys in the comment section and hearing your feedback, so even if you just want to come and say hi, I appreciate it. If you did enjoy this video, you might also enjoy my video on pickle juice and how it can be used to reverse insulin resistance. You can check it out here. If you want to catch up on my most recent upload, you can find it here. And if you want to check out my coaching programs, including my 7-day insulin resistance masterclass and meal plan, you can find that here. Thanks guys, I'll see you next time. Bye.